Does anybody have questions for either one of us or any of the other mentors? Let's take questions now. I want to tell you about other programs, but let's take questions for 20 minutes before I do that. I don't know where to start. Jeremy? So Jeremy's asking, is it better to establish teams as you are working on the project or when you have a solid idea? You want to say anything about that, Ghislaine? Does anybody want to say anything about that? Barry wants to. Well, I mean, I think you can say, I have this idea. I think I need expertise like yours in addition to mine, and you want to work together. And what do you want me to commit to is I want you to be a partner. Anyone want to add anything? Go on. Well, the for EXPs, I believe the solicitation says we don't want you to do any summative assessment, summative evaluation at all. The really important thing, we all thought when we were developing all this was that what we really need to learn more about is learning processes. The processes are what gets you to the outcomes. So if all you're measuring is outcomes, then you haven't really learned enough to teach somebody else something, right? So the really important thing is process, and you always have to find the indicators that you can use to also tell you something about what you expect what you expect the outcome to be. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, you're going to concentrate on what's important for you to concentrate on. Andy. And it's hard. It can be really hard. Mm-hmm. guys who've been on panels, do you want to talk about that? Go on. No. It's a really good question. Yeah. Well, sometimes it's new technologies, but it's rarely new technologies. But go on, Andy. I haven't been there, but I assume so. I assume so. Yeah, I assume so.
So I would say one thing that I I'm sure there's some
Or opportunity. You have to know what the opportunity is. Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say, I found really putting together all
And it's not and the socio-technical system, of course, includes also the people who are involved in using those. So part of what you might be trying to learn about the genre, part of what you might is how to use it well, right? What are the kinds of roles different people in the environment need to take on? And part of the research, part of what you're doing as you're iteratively developing, sometimes that iteration is going to be on the roles that people play, and the technology is going to stay the same, right? So it's thinking in terms of the socio-technical system of the whole system there is quite an important thing. Barry, do you want to add some things about what makes things fall down? Mm-hmm.
Because of the complex space, but in part that's a reaction to a lot of work before that was very hard to apply in right? So you might build a great technology and it doesn't never really, no one understands how it works or what it's actually doing. Or you might do a lot of very learning in a lab setting and never really figure out how that works.
Or you might just think about school as it is today and do something that's just not interesting enough to really be the future.
As you and I have had many conversations about X feels like school.
Yeah, feels like school. We say this all the time. Feels like school. Yeah.
It feels like school is not a problem. It's things that come in. I would say the number one thing. So say you could have all these different areas. The other places I've seen people, this is the market I'm running, like not knowing enough about other work that's related to it that is right. That's again an issue of where your networking skills. Because we're not all networked. The literature is very hard
make sure you have collaborators who know the things you don't know. Tammy, you want to add? Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of them lose out on that. Ones that lose out because there's just not enough detail. The people who are reading it just can't really figure out exactly why people are going to do what they're going to do, or they can't figure out what they're going to do, or why it's important, or how things are connected to each other. Barry? Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry. Screenshots was the wrong word. I think that's the word that's used in there, actually. Yeah, but it doesn't mean screenshots. No. I think that we're talking about evidence here. Okay, so what do you need to include? There's something that you want to accomplish. There's some things that are already known about how to accomplish that. Some things that are known about what's difficult about accomplishing it, some failures to accomplish it in the past. I mean, any of those things. You certainly want to be able to, to reference those, because, you want to build on what came before. You want to be informed by it. If you're helping people learn, there's literature on how people learn, that, some set of that literature that you're going to be using to inform the design of the whole learning experience of the learners. Not just the design of your system, but the design of the whole socio-technical system, the whole learning experience that they're going to have over some sustained period of time, the big set of activities. So you want to be able to use literature to give evidence for why it is that these ideas you have are good ideas. And there are going to be particular ways you're going to want to use technology, or things you're wondering about with respect to using technology. And there may very well be literature out there about others who have tried doing the same kind of thing you want to do technologically, and how, what are you building on there? It's not so much how, in some programs, and sometimes you're writing about how what you're doing differs from what other people are doing. I think that if you're doing something exactly the same as somebody else, that's just going to get asked, and you're not going to get funded. But I think that the bigger issue than how is what I want to do different is how am I being informed, right? And then, if somebody else is doing something similar and you think it's totally wrong-headed, then you need to reference that too and say why you think it's totally wrong-headed. So it's a lot of different ways that you might use the literature. I mean, it's just, I think the deal is that you want to build on what's come before. And, I'll tell you, I was just getting an eager together. Okay, and there were some very specific things I was able to say about the encoding specificity literature and how I was going to use that. And I have that in there. And then for the literature on incidental learning and implicit learning, and I don't know anything about that, and almost nobody else does either, right? But it was important to talk about it, right, and to say we're going to be on the lookout, because we know it happens, even though there's not a lot that we know about how it happens. We know it happens, and we're going to use that literature to help us be on the lookout for, what we should be observing in the situation. So there are a lot of different ways you bring literature in. Tammy? You are required to write about prior work funded by NSF, if you have it. And there's a couple different ways to use that. I mean, I like to use it the way that Tammy was talking about. I like to put it up front. In most of what I write, I like to put it up front somewhere in my, background, lit review, whatever it is section. Put it there so that people understand that I'm building on something solid that I've done before. But in this thing that this eager that I didn't quite let it go yet. I gave it to somebody else to read. But in this eager that I'm doing right now, I mean, I've got it just at the end because it just didn't back it up. So what I want to do now. So I think, there's several different ways to do that. You should use whatever's the best thing to use to address the goals that you want to address. So remember that you're not building a product that's going to get used right now. Your dissemination plan is not going to be, I'm going to have this product and all these people are going to use it. So you're not going for robustness right now. You're going for a minimally viable product that can help you learn the things that you want to learn. And those two different categories. So you want to build it you want to build it the easiest possible way so that you can iterate on it easily, try it out and iterate on it easily, and have several iterations within the 2 or 3 or 4 year period. Andy. Except that's, that might or might not be the goal in what you're doing. Yeah. So think about what the actual goals are. No, I said minimally viable product. So you're building something. But why don't you finish your question and then yeah. You're going to sell it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A minimally viable thing. I mean, you've got something that you're making and you're trying out and you're iterating on. You're not aiming for it to be a marketable product. You're aiming for it to take it as far as you need to take it in order to learn the things you want to learn. Mm-hmm. That's probably not something you're going to do in a cyber learning EXP project. It might be something that you'll do in another kind of project, and I'll talk in a moment about what the other ones are, but probably not a cyber learning EXP project. Yeah, I mean, we could talk some more specifically about that. Do you guys have anything else to say about that? Yeah.
But I think that it might be.
Yeah, I was going to do it right now. Yeah. problem? I can't move this one. Let's see. Oh, no, I have what I have on the screen. Oh, okay. 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 So there are a bunch of projects that don't belong in the cyber learning program. I've got one more question first.
So, if I come up with a prototype or maybe a copy of the field, and we work with two teachers, is that something that or is it extended to be maybe something kind of early so that
I think in your introduction, if you look at the solicitation, it tells you exactly how to do that, by the way. So you're supposed to have a introductory vision statement at the beginning, and it should basically be a summary of what's the big problem you're addressing, why is it important, what are you going to do to address it, what are you going to have kids do, what research you're going to do, whatever. So you want to follow the the rule that everybody tells you about writing a paper, technical paper, right? You want to introduce it, you want to say a lot about it, you want to summarize it. I mean, that's the way you do it. But if you look in the solicitation for cyber learning, it will tell you that, then after that, you want a section about your innovation and how you're going to do the iteration on it, and after that about your research on learning, and after that about how you're going to pull out things about the genre, and et cetera. Oh, well, refer to it in the text early on if you want somebody to look at it in the appendix, or put it in there instead of text. Either way. Yeah, 15 pages doesn't go far. I had this this standard letter that I wrote to decline letter that I wrote to people who wrote 4-page or 9-page or 12-page or even 14-page proposals, which was, maybe you don't know NSF very well, but we have scholars from around the world who come and are looking at what you're doing and evaluating the value of the worthiness of it, and they need to know enough about what you want to do to be able to do that evaluation of its worthiness. So, you really need the space. Barry. Yeah. Yeah.